You know, I've been I've been looking at your is it body language now. There's been a very quiet excitement in terms of how you've expressed just what's been going on in Borno State. You seem quite happy about what exactly has been happening there because you believe that that's how it ought to have been.
Exactly.
But then there's also the question of, you know, there's still dangers ahead. First of all, we hear that Boko Haram they're surrendering now in droves, so we hear. The question is, what do we do with those people that are surrendering? Then we also have the question of the MNJTF. What is the role of the MNJTF in all of this? Because all we've heard so far is what Nigerian troops have been doing on the Nigerian side. How does it work?
Yes, it's not unusual to hear what our own boys are doing first before we hear what the MNJTF is doing. And because we are looking at it from the Nigerian side, we may actually be hearing what the MNJTF is doing, but tend to assume it's our Nigerian people that are doing it. The Cameroonians, the Chadians will also be doing the same. But I can tell you something, that with the involvement of these countries coming together to leverage on their strengths and do this job, there is no hiding place for these insurgents. So I think those ones that are surrendering are actually those that have some benefit of foresight and are smart. The reason is, if you remember, way back 2011 through 2013, they come in, they do damage, and exodus, they run out. They come in, they do damage, and because of the contiguous nature of our cultural affiliations and communities, found out that it was hard to actually get across to these people. In fact, they were even responsible for causing friction between our armed forces, because armed forces are very sensitive to territorial divides. But now that everybody is on the same plate, each side is just as bad for the insurgents as any side. And that is good, because if you look at it lately, we have people coming in to surrender. Surrendering itself comes with its challenges. They are going to be gathered, and they are going to go through a process, prominent amongst which is de-radicalization. De-radicalization itself has its own Amazon in Abuja, and she's doing a wonderful job. Fatima Akilu, I believe. She runs something in tandem with the NSA and the Defense Ministry, and she's doing a wonderful job on these people, bringing them in, de-radicalizing them. The fact that you have surrendered does not make you free per se. If you are actually fingered or brought up for one or two things, the legal implication of the things you have done will still count. But
sorry to cut you there. You know, if you look at it, this is where other agencies can come in. Just yesterday, we were with retired Flight Lieutenant Terry Ajob, and I were talking about a situation whereby some of these people have, some of them have surrendered.
Yes.
As Mark may asked, what about those who have just gone ahead to mix up with the society? How do we fish them out? Whose responsibility it is to do all of that?
Yes, the law enforcement agencies are mentioned, the DSS, the civil defense, the police, to a very considerable extent to the immigration. Yes, the immigration has a key role to play here, because these people, wherever they mix up, wherever they go, they have to live somewhere. Okay, we have options, we have leeways, you know, where we could actually begin to place tabs and even trace and recover these missing elements. Those that are already with law enforcement and are being investigated or interrogated can actually provide the what you call trails or the indicators or the information that will lead to that. You can actually get as many as possible. Okay, even our communities. When I say our communities now, I'm not talking about at the macro level. We have to work at the micro level. We are doing something together with one of the 36 Nigerian states. And what are we working on? We are not looking at all the big names. We're looking at landlords. You live somewhere, I live somewhere. Whatever you do in this country, you sleep somewhere. And so, can we be able to bring landlords together and have them form umbrella bodies and chapters, and somehow we collect a weekly response from them?
So the communities, for instance,
exactly.
You getting to know the next man.
Exactly. If we have to take it street by street, so be it. The idea is, if you know the man by your left and you know the man by your right, and every landlord knows everyone under his roof, if one person is added, we want to know who. He came in from where? Who is he related to? Who knows him? It becomes more difficult for people to just become faceless and drop off the radar. And that brings the issue of communication and what we call SIGINT, IT. It's key. We must be able to, I mean, if the average Nigerian can operate a mobile phone, then we shouldn't find it difficult going IT. Yes.
You were talking about de-radicalization, and that's one area quite a number of people still do not understand. It's not as simple as changing hardware. It's not like they open the brain, remove that the Boko Haram thinking and put in a new one. It's a long process, I would think. How does it work? Have you ever seen the process?
Yeah, de-radicalization is really not difficult per se. It's just about showing you a better way of being you. Okay, de-radicalization is not about using force. It's about appealing to your reasoning and exploiting your humanness. Everybody, even the hardest of insurgents, has a soft spot in there. He's human. You begin to actually bring people in, you empathize with them, and you make them understand that, look, you are not as outcast as you look. There is something in you that is good. You just don't see it. Let me give you an example of what happened in the United States with the Guantanamo guys. A good number were de-radicalized, and they began to see a better way to live on this planet. Okay? You come in, the people that are meant to actually interrogate you are civil, they're polite. They ask you, how are you doing today? Did you sleep well yesterday? And you sit down, you talk to them one-on-one. You say everything you want to say, and they don't really make any faces. They don't feel outraged when you tell them the things you've done. And you really begin to get in there. You begin to actually access the human being in him. What you see as an insurgent, that's the individual insurgent, is just what you can call a sum total of socio-cultural, political, economic, environmental response to stimuli. And when you take him out of that environment and put him somewhere else, he's also going to respond to that environment. It takes quite a while. It takes some, less time. Some never really come out of it. But if you get a sample populace of, say, 10, chances are you'll be able to de-radicalize 4. And when you are able to de-radicalize 4, there goes your leeway. You could actually use them as your ambassadors, and they could even talk to others to come in. We did that 4 years ago in my group, where we actually went to this house where they keep young boys who, they call it something correction home for delinquent homes. And when we went there, we started doing a lot of things. We go there with gifts, we go there with toys, we play ball, we talk about everything from girls to condoms, And we start telling them, look, this is what we've done, and this is what happens if you go that way. And the boys were opening up. Some were very stubborn and aloof, yes. But we were able to get those who opened up to go there and bring more in. That's what de-radicalization can do for you.
Because this is very key here, as we're also likely to get some people who still think, who may not be members. We call them sympathizers, but they may not be members. They still believe in the ideals of this people. And if any of them should run towards such individual, they get a haven in their homes. That is when the communities come in, for you to recognize who has come to your neighborhood.
The communities have to understand something, and it's going to be a little bit challenging with the our northern communities, particularly the rural areas where you have people who are not too enlightened, in quotes. What do I mean by enlightened? You see, when it comes to education, particularly girl child education, we are very much challenged. And that in itself means there is what you call a fallow mind space. Most people have their mind spaces fallow. I won't use the word ignorant. Let me say fallow. And you see, when the mind space is fallow, the first person that steps in there is the hero. So someone comes in and is telling you about things you've never had before, and because you do not have the benefit of any exposure, you believe this guy is just key, and there you go. He puts you in that way and you think you are doing right, and one day you are this deep in, you just discover, look, this guy deceived us. This guy took our minds for a ride. We have that going on. Next again is this issue of religious extremism. We need to pay attention, particularly in the north, to the kind of people who preach across all religions. Across all religions. In Nigeria today, if you can just buy a megaphone, you are a preacher. If you can gather some sticks and build a thatch hut, you have a church. If you can put some blocks and make a square on the ground, call yourself an imam, it's your mosque. We need to begin to formalize this, particularly the religious and traditional leaders. They have to become interested, because these are the remote causes of what you've seen today as the insurgent group. They started as call them an outlawed group. They went into the bushes, started their movement. People who were moribund were going there, probably enjoying free food, and they were getting inducted with all sorts of ideas. We must begin to look at these things, not at this general level, at, you know, all these big macro endeavors. We must go into the subtleties.
So it's difficult to celebrate just yet. So much as we're making progress on the military front, there is still plenty of work to be done.
Yes, there's plenty of work to be done, because as I speak, we should have gotten into the mood across board. The police should be thinking, how can we drive the success of this issue of terrorism? Eradicating it, at the very worst, containing it. The immigration has its own options for driving the successes. The customs has its own options.
What's immigration going to be doing?
The immigration is actually about those who are within us and how they move around. Yes, if we had to break the immigration so small and have street reps, then the boss should start thinking of that.